Hi guys, it's Sarah, your career expert here. I'm going to be talking, I'm going to get going in a minute, talking about the excuses that we use to, well, I was going to just focus it on careers, but it's such a fascinating subject. I'm going to cover a few different areas. I will cover some stuff about some of the excuses that I hear people say about what keeps them stuck in a career. But I'm actually going to do a little bit of a deep dive into why we do it. Why do we use excuses and what's behind that? Because, you know, it's very easy to say excuses, but there's a lot of very complex reasons behind why we do these. So I've broadened it out a bit to go, well, hang on a minute. What excuses do we tend to use and why do we do it? Because I don't know about you, but as human beings, sometimes we all do things and we think, why did I do that? Oh, I didn't do that, and now I feel a bit guilty about that, and I meant to do that and I didn't. So, full disclosure, I ate half a packet of Jaffa cakes last night, and my excuse was, oh well, I'm too tired to cook. And I knew that was an excuse because it was actually, do you know what? I went to bed really late the night before and I was feeling a bit lazy. So it's like, okay, I've eaten half a packet of Jaffa cakes. It could be worse. They could have been chocolate hobnobs, which are even more fattening, etc. So it's like, okay, right. So that means I've got to run a little bit extra tomorrow and get back on the healthy eating plan. So we all do it. We all make excuses. And again, like with everything that I cover, hi Julie, nice to see you. Like many things in life, it's not to say that unless we're doing stuff that's wildly ineffective and unless we're doing stuff that's really, really impacting our goals, our life, our direction and our happiness, those are real kind of like red flags to say, hang on a minute, I've noticed a pattern here. I keep doing this and it's making me really unhappy, but I don't understand it. So there's that side of things, but also we all do it. And for me, like with a lot of things that happen in our lives, it's about being aware. Awareness is the first step, and sort of asking yourself some questions about why we make excuses. And so what I wanted to say straight away, so I can't get my words out. What I want to say straight away is that we all do it at some times. And why do we do that? Because sometimes it's about keeping ourselves safe. It's about protecting ourselves. It's about perhaps defending behaviours or defending things that we know we should have done and we haven't. So as I say, being aware of if there are excuses that you're making, being aware of what they are, and if there are recurring ones that you think, do you know what? I don't know, I want to like get to a healthier weight, or I want to improve my stamina, or I want to get a new job, but we keep making repeat excuses, and it's like that excuse is really clashing with our desire to move on and set that goal and make progress. That's when we have to really examine them. And then of course we do it sometimes day by day, you know, we all do it. So sometimes excuses are a way to rationalise why we don't do things, and we justify them. We justify our excuses, and that's where we can get a little bit defensive. So I don't know if somebody said, well, you know, how come that didn't happen? And it's like, well, the dog ate my homework, or, you know, well, I just, I couldn't find this, or I didn't know where to get this, you know, this piece of information. We tend to sort of rationalise, you know, we rationalise why we don't do things, and we invent reasons to defend our behaviour, because on some level we know that we are making excuses and that we are postponing taking action. And that means that we're not actually taking responsibility for our behaviours, and we're not taking responsibility for the fact that perhaps we're not getting the results that we want in life. And it's very easy to make excuses to say, oh, I'm too tired, or I mean, sometimes, yes, we all are tired, but oh, you know, I just haven't got the time. If it's important to you, then you will consistently make the time. Yeah, we all have the odd blip, But as I say, excuses help us to rationalise why we don't do things. We invent reasons to defend our behaviour and to postpone taking action and not taking responsibility for what goes on in our life. Now, the thing is, you might even kid yourself and go, well, actually, yeah, I didn't do that, and I didn't do it for that reason, and I really believe that, but I bet you there's a little nagging voice saying, I know that's not quite the truth. I know I could have got up earlier and not been late for that date, or I could have, done that interview preparation earlier. And I'm just looking at the comments here. Yeah, okay, I totally get that, Julie, in terms of, losing, sometimes we can lose interest. Now, it's actually, maybe that's worth thinking about, right, how motivated am I towards my goal? And have I been really honest with myself to say, this is what I want to achieve, and breaking down those steps into like really micro baby steps that are achievable goals, rather than trying to bite off the whole thing in one go. Have you broken that down into baby steps? And have you been really honest to say, okay, well, if I want to do this, this is how long I think this is going to take. And this is how much time or effort or energy I can give to this every week or every day. So life isn't a business project. I really believe that if we're trying to achieve something, we've got to enjoy it on some level. So it's got to be our goal that fulfills our purpose and the things we want to do. If it's, I was coaching someone recently that had financial goals. The problem was the financial goals weren't her goals. They were her partner's goals. So it's like, well, actually, you've got to own those goals. They've got to belong to you, and you've got to want to do them, and you've got to break them down into very small steps, because very small steps add up to big results over time. So that might be, there you go. Yeah, so maybe breaking it down a bit, breaking it down into small baby steps, Julie, might help you in that instance. And, I don't know whether you write things down on paper. If you want, direct message me and I'll send you an action planning sheet, which helps you break down your goals into baby steps. Because if you write it down, then it's like a bit more organised and in front of you, and you can have a look at it and go, wow, look at that. I've achieved that. I've done that. I've done that. I've done that. And be realistic. You want to enjoy your goals, and you want to give yourself some downtime. Life is not a business project. You've got to enjoy what you're doing, and, reward yourself, celebrate your successes along the way, and just break it down, break it down, break it down. The other thing about goals is, if there is something relating to your goal that you feel that isn't your strength, or you don't enjoy doing. So, for example, okay, I could set up some Facebook ads. Am I an expert in it? No. So it's probably going to frustrate me, and it's going to take me ages to do it. So if I've got a bit of money, I can pay someone who's an expert in that area to do those for me. So that to me makes sense, because then I can focus on the stuff that I feel that I am better at, like, preparing content, or giving a talk somewhere, or, whatever it may be. Coaching, just focusing on my coaching, rather than spending hours and hours doing things. But, hi Francesco, nice to see you, so to speak. But if there is something that you think, oh, I really enjoy that bit of my goal, and I know I'm good at it, then focus on those bits. And if you, sorry, someone's just tried to phone me. If you can outsource a bit, then outsource what you can, So don't feel like you have to do everything by yourself. And also be really, really, really honest about how long things are going to take, breaking them down into steps, whether it's something you really want to achieve, and also be really honest about, if I want to achieve this goal, what are some of the things that could get in the way? Now, that's not being negative, it's being realistic to say, right, well, I want to do this by then, but I've actually got a really important work presentation, or I want to do this by then, but do you know what? I've got to go and drop some food round to my family during lockdown or semi-lockdown, or whatever phase we're in of the pandemic we're in at the moment. Well, we're all in different places. So it's about being really realistic and writing down, oh, hang on a minute, these little things could get in the way. And it's about sort of owning them and saying, right, okay, that means I might need to extend that goal in terms of timeline a little bit longer. Okay, so there's a few tips there. So in a way, excuses are self-handicapping behaviour, and they impact our results, and they're a way for us to sort of build barriers if we're anxious about achieving a goal, or, and they're just ways of us protecting ourselves. So as human beings, we can be really, really, really creative about how we make excuses. And sometimes it might be something fairly genuine, or sometimes it might be like the old classic, didn't hand in my homework because the dog ate my homework, or we just know on some level that we are not being quite honest, we're not being accountable to the people in our lives, and we are not being accountable at ourselves. And over the short term, making an excuse can almost help to alleviate some anxiety about what we feel about a situation. So say, for example, you've got a goal of like going networking, business networking, but you keep making excuses such as, I've really got to do that ironing now, or I've really got to clean the house now, or I've really got to phone my friend now. And you keep doing it and doing it. You're moving further and further away from your goal. And these are just really trite, facile examples, but I'm just thinking off the top of my head. But so you might get some short-term relief from saying, yeah, well, I have to do this and I have to do that. But over the longer term, I think it will start to eat away at you. And it's just about also being honest with ourselves and saying, do you know what? If we're trying to do things, sometimes that does cause a bit of anxiety, especially if we're trying to stretch ourselves. And sometimes, like, I don't know if you've ever done it where you've done something and you're like, why did I do that? Why did I do that? And usually these are invented reasons that will help us to postpone taking action, which will delay our results. And they're almost ways to defend our behaviour and protect ourselves, because we don't want to maybe put ourselves outside of our comfort zone. And when we make excuses, what we do is sometimes we blame things outside of us. We blame external events. So, for example, a legitimate reason would be, I don't know, you want to go into London, all the trains have suddenly been cancelled. Now, there are things that we can control and influence, there are things we can't. However, if you've not left yourself enough time to prepare, maybe you've gone, do you know what, I've got 5 more minutes, I'll watch a bit more of Good Morning Britain or Breakfast TV, I'll just leave it a bit longer. That can actually sabotage our success, and we blame it on external things sometimes. If people ask us, well, how come you were late for that interview? How come you were late for that presentation? Yes, there are forces of nature, acts of God that happen, but sometimes when we make excuses, we're shifting the focus off of ourselves onto something over there. And whenever we're doing something that's like, well, it's because of this, I'm trying to point my finger so you can see it, it's something over there, when actually we know it's something in here. It might relieve a bit of anxiety and we might kid ourselves for a little bit of time, but I think underneath that, we know when we're making excuses. So, it's things like, well, do you know what? That exam was just really, really hard. That exam might have been really hard, but actually, perhaps we didn't quite prepare enough. So we do use excuses, we all do it, and we do it to protect ourselves. We do it to sort of, not hold ourselves as accountable, to blame external factors, and it really does hold us back. And it sort of, as I say, in the short term might quell some anxiety, but over the longer term, you're going to know that when you're not really holding yourself to account, okay? So the problem is that if you do this several times, so say you're in a career or a role, say you're in a relationship, so some of this stuff that I talk about is always, it's usually got a career slant on it, but it can be, relevant to all areas of your life, your health, your fitness, relationships, money, etc. What happens over time, if you keep making excuses, and if you keep making excuses with someone who's particularly on the ball, they're going to pick that up and go, do you know what? That person's a bit flaky. that person's not reliable. Do you know, I'm just going to step away from that. I'm not going to offer that person that opportunity. So we have to be really careful about that, especially if we are telling ourselves those little white lies that we all do. So, you know, that's just a bit of background about why we do it, okay? So what can we do about it? And I'll go into a bit more about beliefs and career stuff in a minute. What can we do? One of the best things we can do is to become really aware. If we feel that niggling feeling of, I think I've put that off, that didn't turn out the way I wanted to, or on some level you feel that feeling of, I've probably made a bit of an excuse there, or you feel that you're about to, mindfulness is fantastic. So, and it doesn't take long just to stop, to really just stop for a few minutes, really focus. If you want to, you can close your eyes, take some deep breaths, gather your thoughts and think, what's going on here? Because I know I want this, but I'm getting in my own way. I'm tripping myself up. What is behind that? 9 times out of 10, there's a fear or an anxiety behind it. So what you could do is, as I say, become mindful and sit there and think, just focus on the moment and think, okay, focus my mind, what's going through my mind, and just focus on the present moment. What am I feeling at the moment? What's coming up for me? And you can do it with your eyes shut, like a mini mindfulness meditation. And when you do that on a regular basis, and in fact when you do meditation full stop on a regular basis, we become very much more aware of what is going on minute by minute. Because it's very easy to react and make an excuse. It's very easy to react and go, oh, I'm just going to do that thing over there, even though I should be over there. But if we can slow ourselves down a bit, give ourselves that time for mindfulness, and if you want to go into meditation, highly recommend it. It enables us to sort of really focus on the present and focus on what's going on in our minds. And it helps us to slow down our breathing, which quells the anxiety and slow down our thoughts. I talked a little bit earlier about goals, breaking them down, making sure they're goals that you really do want to achieve and not somebody else's, celebrating successes along the way, and making sure you are being really realistic that the time and resources that you have to achieve your goal, and thinking about what could get in the way of that goal. Another thing you can do with goals is to really think about maybe having a theme for the year. So it's great having goals. Now, some people like to have lots of goals. Some people like to have just a couple of goals they're working on. For this year, the theme for you this year might be, do you know what? I'm going to increase my financial abundance. What does that look like? Well, I'm going to save this every month. I'm going to stop buying this. Do you know what I mean? So you almost have a theme for the year rather than perhaps lots and lots of different goals. And maybe if you think about it as in, my theme for this year is, where I want to be at the end of this year is, then you can really start to direct and focus your goals. So I'll give you an example. For me, my theme for the year is focus and consolidation. Now that's really interesting, isn't it? Because of the virus and lockdown, that's actually given me a great opportunity, albeit in a roundabout way, to focus and consolidate on how I'm spending my time. Because like many other people, I've had times where I felt overwhelmed by what's going on. I've had to shift quite a lot. But for me, it was really about focusing my marketing, and that's what I've done. And I just think, do you know what? As long as I keep that and I have it running through my mind all the time, I've got it on my board over there, focus and consolidation, because I know I'm an ideas person and I can go off in many different directions. So maybe for you, it's about having that theme for the year and go, okay, so what does that mean for me every month? I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. Having goals doesn't mean they have to be these huge, big, hairy goals, as they're often called. It can be, I'm going to go for a walk once a week. So make your themes, your goals work for you, and try and let go of the thought that, oh, I need to be better, I need to be better, you know, I need to do more, I need to be better. Sometimes it's not about that. Sometimes it's about giving us the space to focus on a few things really, really well. The other thing you can do is also look at your beliefs. Now, we all have beliefs. I could do a whole set of videos on this, and I probably will do one day. In fact, I've done some already on YouTube, that we all have beliefs that pop up for us. And these are things that have been programmed thoughts, recurring thought patterns that we may be aware of or not aware of. And they can pop up at any time. But guess what? They really pop up when we're trying to up level our lives, when we're trying to reach for something, because our ego and our mind wants to keep us really safe. And if we stay where we are, we stay safe. But sometimes if we stay safe and in our comfort zones, we don't stretch and grow. So during these times, if you're doing something different, you know, for example, say you're chatting to a guy or a woman and you're like, oh, you know, I really want to like go out with someone, find a great partner. You might find yourself making excuses about, well, I wasn't really bothered about her anyway, or do you know what, I feel I'm too old for dating. These are all those. The first one was an excuse, the second one is a belief. So if you think about it in that particular area of your life, do you ever catch yourself saying, oh, I'm not this, you know, oh, I'm not smart enough, I'm not clever enough, I'm not rich enough, or I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too this, too that. It might be worth keeping a note. Keep a note of the excuses that you might catch yourself saying. You know, like it feels like somebody else is talking and it's like the words are coming out of your mouth, but you know it's not really what's in here. So maybe keep a little list of those excuses and keep a little list of those beliefs that are I am and I am not. That is your cue card to say, hang on a minute, is that something I believe about myself? Thing is with beliefs, they are like weeds in the garden. We just have to keep weeding at the garden. Sometimes we can be very, very aware of them. We can even hear ourselves say, oh, I'm just not clever enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not this, I'm not that. And you catch yourself saying it. Sometimes they are buried, way, way down. And when we're not aware of them, then we sabotage ourselves. And sometimes that's where the excuses can really trip off the tongue. So we need to think about, right, is there a little voice there telling me something, like a little monkey chattering on my shoulder going me, 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 or whatever that thing is, that inner voice, and it doesn't make you feel good about yourself. The thing is with beliefs, are a bit like computer programs. Sometimes we get them, well, very often actually, we get them from parents, from teachers. You know, I remember when I was at school, teacher saying, well, you're not very good at maths, are you? And I held that belief for a long time, and it's like, do you know what, I might not be a physicist, but I'm pretty good at maths, and actually I really enjoy maths. So it's not that I'm not good at maths, it might not be something I choose to spend a lot of time doing. You know, I have an accountant that helps me with all the other stuff, because that's not a core way I want to spend my time. When I talked about before using other resources for your goals, then that's a sensible use of another resource. But I, for a long time, felt, oh, I'm not very good at maths. And it's like, that's not true. Just because somebody said it to you once, twice, 20 times when you were growing up, when you were young, does not make it true. When we're young, we believe what older people tell us. We believe what role models tell us. We believe what our friends tell us, and we don't question it. But actually, we should question those things and go, hang on a minute, is that really true? Or have I just really sort of chosen to believe it? And these things get programmed in us from a very young age, which means we carry them around with us for a very, very long time. And they really get in the way of our success. And we believe they're true, and very often they're not. It's just something somebody said once, you know? So if you're getting a lot of people saying the same thing, it might be worth looking at that and going, am I coming across in a certain way? But if you catch yourself saying, I'm this, I'm that, and it feels disempowering. You know, I love this concept of disempowering thoughts and empowering thoughts. Empowering thoughts make you feel great. Disempowering thoughts make you feel a bit rubbish. So these beliefs are, it's nice to see you all here this evening, by the way. I know it's Friday, so, you know, really appreciate being here. You know, just catch what you're telling yourself. And as I say, keep a list of those excuses. Keep a list of those beliefs and think, hang on a minute, what am I telling myself? What am I telling myself that's holding me back? And some of the beliefs that I hear people talk about, or excuses are, when it comes to their career, is I'm too old, I'm too young, I don't know how to. That's a classic one, actually. That's a really, really key one when it comes to careers. And my role as a coach is to really open up your mindset, open up your thinking. Been coaching a guy lately, and he's like, do you know what, Sarah? After working with you for a couple of months, I feel like I deserve a promotion. I'm going for these jobs, and now I'm thinking, how do I do it? I'm not good enough. So sometimes we believe like I'm too busy, I'm too old, I'm too young. So if you catch yourself with any of those thoughts, really, really question them, because those are barriers that you're putting in front of your own success. And sometimes it's like a computer program. If we tell ourselves something often enough, we will start to believe it. And science is now telling us that not only do we have thinking cells in our brain, but we have thinking and feeling cells in every cell of our body. I don't know how many cells there are in our body, but there's a lot. So in every ounce of our body, if we keep telling ourselves these things, we are basically installing a computer program that doesn't really belong there, and it will go through our whole body, and we will start to believe that and buy into it. So as I say, they come from, and sometimes people don't mean it. Sometimes people just say dumb stuff, or they just say what's on their mind, and they may not mean it, but perhaps they're trying to protect you in a way. So sometimes our parents say things, that we get stuff from the media all the time. We do it to ourselves. We can be our own worst enemies. Sometimes our friends say it. So be careful about the company you keep there. And it's almost like wearing a coat that doesn't fit. It's like, actually, I'm a grown up now, and this belief doesn't fit. So it is actually ongoing work to change those beliefs and change those thought patterns, because those beliefs are going to pop up and they're going to block you from your progress. And think about these following questions. Instead of believing that, what do I want to believe instead? What could I choose to believe instead? And reframe it into something more empowering and positive. And you'll know an empowering thought, because it's like, oh, I feel pretty cool about myself when I think that. I feel really good about myself, instead of like this, instead of disempowered. Think about, what could I choose to believe instead? What do I want to believe? And allow yourself to believe those things and tell yourself those things. Say, hey, hang on a minute. I am good enough. I am smart enough. I can make a change in my career at any time in my life. I coach so many people that are going through career changes at many, many different stages of their lives. And research shows that we do change our jobs and careers at least 7 to 12 times. So, some of us are lucky enough to find our passion and go, bang, you're there straight away. But the world doesn't often work like that anymore. Also ask yourself, what is this belief? What is this excuse costing me? Because there's a cost attached every time you make an excuse, you choose to believe something that's disempowering. And ask yourself, if I didn't have this belief, this disempowering, limiting belief, as they're often called, what impact would it have on my life if I didn't choose to believe this, if I didn't believe this? What could I do instead? And again, all of this stuff, we all do it. We've all been there. We've all had beliefs and excuses that have popped up in our lives, and very often they're going to pop up at a time when you are trying to make a change. So the common ones in terms of career are, I'm too old, I'm too young, oh, I'm too busy to find a job, I don't know what I want. That is an absolute classic, as I mentioned, that I see in careers. I don't know what I want. It's my job to help you find out what you do want, because it is in there somewhere. And I've had so many experiences where I do like longer sessions. They're called VIP sessions. They're a little bit longer, and we really get to the heart of the matter. And it's amazing. We start doing the detective work, and then towards the end of the session, the client will say, well, you know what, Sarah, I've always fancied doing this. And I'm like, whoa, stop, hang on a minute, right, let's just spend some time on this, because it's almost like the person has admitted what they want just as they're about to leave. Because sometimes we're just very scared to talk about what we want in our lives, to be honest with ourselves, because we're worried that people will judge us, maybe people will laugh at us, maybe people will sort of try and disencourage us and say, well, you are, you know, you're too old, you're too young, you're too this, you're too that. So be mindful of who you tell your goals to. Only tell trusted people. And that's the great thing about coaching, is it's neutral, it's objective. I'm not here to judge you, I'm here to empower you. So beliefs are really, really important to tackle. What else do people say to me? Oh, well, my current job is just too busy. I'm too busy to look for a job. And then I sort of say, well, how important is it to you really? Think about how you're going to feel in a few years' time. If you're still stuck in this job, which you have told me you are really unhappy in, how are you going to feel in 1 month, 2 months, 6 months' time? And again, it's not about doing everything all at the same time. It's about breaking these goals down into baby steps, so you can see that some of those baby steps are going to make up for a whole heap of achievements. So those are some of the common career excuses. So the other ones I've seen, now I'm talking about careers, as I quite often say, this might apply to relationships, it might apply to your health, and it might apply to your finances. So just take what you can from this. What I hear people say is, do you know what? It's okay, it'll get better. Right, okay. How's that working out for you? How long have you been in your job, and how long have you been telling yourself this? This isn't to blame anyone. It's just to sort of shine a light on the fact that, do you know what? If you don't change, if you don't shift, you're just going to keep getting the same results. Sometimes we will say, do you know what? It'll get better. I can handle this. I know I did it early in my career. I know I was in a job that I just hated, and I thought, do you know what? I'm tough. I'm strong. I can handle this. I can handle working here. Do you know what? It didn't get better, and I left, and it was one of the best things I ever did. Sometimes we say, I will never get another job like this. That's not true at all. I've been coaching people during lockdown, during the coronavirus, and people have been getting new jobs. They've been getting new opportunities. Granted, things might be moving a bit slower. Granted, some industries are moving a bit slower. But you know, you might as well start building up towards your change sooner rather than later. So that thing about, I'll never get another job like this, that's just another way of keeping yourself. It's an excuse. It's a belief that you have that's going to keep you stuck. Another one is, it looks bad on my CV. I wouldn't worry about it. It's more about how you write your CV, how you position yourself, how you come across in your interview, how you demonstrate, how you did this with examples. Sometimes, you know, things are really flipped now. Sometimes it looks bad if you've stayed in a job for like 20, 30 years. Because sometimes that says to recruiters or other people, this person hasn't really flexed themselves, they haven't grown, they haven't done different things. So don't worry about that at all. There's always a way to work around that, and it doesn't look bad on your CV. Everywhere else is awful. At least I know what it's like here. Well, everywhere else isn't awful, and perhaps this place just isn't the right place for you where you are in your career at the moment. Perhaps you might be telling yourself, oh, I'll get promoted soon. Define soon. When do you want to get promoted? What conversations have you had in your current career or your role at the moment with your manager? What steps are you taking towards that promotion? What about this one? Nobody likes their job here. Oh, I'm trying to figure out how I pronounce your name, so I'm going to say it, and I'm not sure. I apologise if I get it wrong. Andromache. Thank you for your comments. So people often say nobody likes their job here. It's the same for everyone. Do you really want to be the same as everybody else, or do you really want to take steps and carve out the career that you want? Sometimes, and this is a tricky one, my job supports my lifestyle. So that then becomes a weighing up exercise. Earlier on in the week, in my post with the monkey, the pink monkey, I talked about tolerations. So if your lifestyle is important, then it's, are you prepared to tolerate what's going on in your job or your role for that lifestyle? And it's fine if you are. It is absolutely fine. It's about balancing out what's important to you and your values. But you could get another job that still supports your lifestyle, or you might decide, I'm just going to adapt my lifestyle a little bit because other things are important to me at this point in my life. So we've probably all heard those excuses. We've maybe even said some of them. I know I have. I know I've sat there going, it will get better, it will get better. And I really did believe that. But it didn't. It just got worse. And I just was so glad when I left, you know, and it sort of, I wouldn't be where I am now if I hadn't have left. So my role is really to help you in an objective way, in a neutral way, is to listen to you, listen to what you're saying, and sort of tease those beliefs out, tease those excuses out, so we can look at them, you know, face on and go, okay, right, let's get this noise, let's get this stuff out of the way. And it's really interesting. When I've done face-to-face sessions, and even on Zoom, I do a lot of my coaching on Zoom, it's getting rid of some of this stuff is better than any anti-aging face cream or any beauty treatment I've ever seen. I've literally seen the colour in people's faces light up, and their posture change, and their eyes light up, and a smile comes on their face, because it's like, do you know what? I've just gotten rid of all these heavy rocks that I'm carrying on my back. So, you know, if you are thinking about changing your role or changing something in your life, feel proud about that. Feel proud about you're even thinking about it, because many people don't. And it's a really brave step. But things won't get better if we continue to make excuses. Short term, excuses might work for you. They might help alleviate some anxiety or some worries you have about changing, but it's going to eat away at you. And we have to be careful. As if we're consistently making excuses, people will start to notice, and you might get overlooked for roles. You may not get the relationship that you want because you're not taking action. You're not owning up to your excuses. So, you know, I just think we all do it at times, but they're just not good reasons in the long term to sacrifice your health and your happiness, okay? So, just a little recap is that excuses are really a defense mechanism. They are a way for us to rationalise why we don't do things that we know we really want to do, but we're a little bit scared of doing them. They are invented reasons that we sometimes really believe are true because we want to defend our behaviour. So I'm pretty sure we've all done it. They're a way for us to postpone taking action. They're a way of us not taking responsibility for our results in life. They are a way of distracting us. Do you know what? I just had to watch that movie for the second time because I just had to. You know, they're a way of distracting us. They are self-handicapping and limiting behaviours over the longer term that impact our results and can actually, over the longer term, impact our self-esteem. So we have to watch it, okay? Excuses help to shift the focus off of us, and they put the focus over there. Oh, it was that person's fault. Oh, well, I didn't know what the train timetable was. Or I didn't know this. Or oh, that exam was hard because and you know it's because you didn't prepare. It shifts the focus off of us, and we kind of excuse ourselves for not quite doing what we wanted to do. So there's a cost of these excuses, and it is a way of protecting ourselves, but it will undermine our self-esteem over the longer term. I've talked about beliefs. I've given you some questions that you can ask yourself about. Is this true? What is this belief costing me? What do I want to believe instead? I've talked about goals. The fact that sometimes we don't need to have like 15 million goals. We can have a few goals, or maybe there's just one thing you want to work to. You know, make it work for you. Perhaps you've just got a theme that's buzzing around in your head, like, I want to feel more confident. Sometimes goals can be about feelings, they can be about doing, they can be about having. There's lots of different types of goals, and maybe you've got a theme for the year that's like, well, if I take that theme, maybe it's about, you know, going for a run once a week. Maybe it's about seeing my family once a month. They don't have to be huge things. Do what's right for you. Make sure you're breaking your goal down into baby steps so it's not overwhelming. Make sure you're asking yourself, what resources, what information do I need to help me with that goal? And if there's bits of your goal that you don't enjoy, So, I mean, I don't do my own accounts. My accountant does that because, number one, I'm not really interested in doing them. Number two, he's an expert in it. So things like that. Maybe you can outsource. Maybe a friend can help. Maybe you can do a course or something. Think about the stuff you're good at and you want to do, and the stuff you maybe want to park to someone else to help you. There's nothing wrong in asking for help. And think about, you know, is it your goal? Is it definitely your goal? Is it something definitely you want? Now, if you're in a relationship as a couple, you can have partner goals, couples goals, or family goals, like spending more time together, or we want to move to Spain. So as a couple, we need to have our own goals, but goals as a couple, a shared vision. But on the whole, you need to have some goals that belong to you, not somebody else. If you're doing things on behalf of somebody else, sometimes that doesn't always work. So I've talked about that. And I've given you some examples of different excuses and beliefs that we tell ourselves to hold ourselves back. I've talked about where beliefs come from when we're growing up and how we can question them. I've also talked about using mindfulness and meditation, but mindfulness just stopping to really think about what am I feeling at this point in time, what's going on here. The more that you do it, the more you will become aware of what's going on in your mind and what your chatter is telling yourself, how you're self-defeating yourself. And I've talked about, as I've mentioned just now, your goals and your themes for the year. And, you know, just don't beat yourself up, right? We all do it. We're not robots. We're not perfect. But, you know, the key is to really be honest with ourselves. And sometimes we're just scared of that honesty and scared of admitting what we really want, and scared to admit, I know this is how I get in my own way. So there we go, excuses. You know, as I say, we've all been there. Maybe try and keep a little list, or keep a list on your iPhone, or if you've got a diary or a journal, write in there every time you catch yourself saying, well, I would have done it, but, or I would have been there, but, or if you feel yourself getting defensive, make a little note of it. Are there some patterns there? If you catch yourself saying, well, I want to do this, but I'm not this. I'm not, you know, I'm not good enough. I'm not young enough. I'm not clever enough. I'm not this enough. I'm not rich enough. Keep a note of those as well. And if you keep saying, oh, I am, you know, this, that, and the other, and it's not feeling good, keep a note of those beliefs as well, because these are going to start to give you little clues, because sometimes these beliefs and excuses are obvious. Sometimes they're not obvious, and we maybe sit there and think, why isn't this happening for me? So just start to keep little notes, keep a little journal, keep little notes about what you're telling yourself, some of the excuses you're making, how you're defending and justifying behaviour when underneath you know, oh, could have done better there. Then keep a note of these things, because it's going to give you a lot of information over time. So just want to say thank you to everyone that's joined. If you've got any last minute questions, then feel free to ping them on here on the chat, or I will repost this video so you can watch some of the tips. I will be uploading the last couple of videos to my YouTube channel, so they'll be on my YouTube channel as well, but they'll be on my Facebook page. You can sort of come back and watch these at any time. If there is a specific topic you'd really like me to cover, then please feel free to drop me a message on Facebook or leave a note in the comments. If you would like to subscribe to my weekly e-blast, it's like a 2-minute read, some tips about motivation, mindset, careers, leadership, all that stuff, then just please drop me a message on Facebook and I'll add you to my list. It's only a little like newsletter. I do it once a week, usually on a Friday, but I've got a few more tips in there as well. Happy to share all this stuff about what I've learned from my clients and what I've learned through my own career and experiences in life. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. And yes, just be interested to hear if any of you notice any excuses you might be telling yourself. Okay, have a great weekend, everyone, and thanks for watching. Speak to you soon. Bye. Oh, yeah, Julie, no problem. Drop me a message, and I got your note about the video, so I will cover that topic in due course. Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Bye.